Oh my goodness.
The one of one is missing.
I knew something was up.
Pop, that's almost twice as much going for the same price.
I just freaking love that rated rookie logo.
Doing more buying.
Which one of these 5 quarterbacks has the worst set of pass catchers to throw the football to?
Guess how much I sniped this for an auction?
Number to 5, you dirty animal.
I'm telling you, these optic on-card autos are money.
Football cards, collecting and investing. His name is Andy. My name's Carter. All a part of the No Off Season Network. A little bit later, we'll give our vaunted playoff predictions. Andy, we'll start off here talking Prizm. Do you like the new Panini Prizm design, baby?
It's got some 2013 vibes to it. It's not my favorite design, but I do like it. You know, it's got some freshness to it. I'll share it up here on the screen, on screen 2 over here. I was looking at some Bucky Irving. You got the Silver Prizm motto there. Check out this 2024 Bo Nix Black Finite 1 of 1 photo variation. So this is the photo variation. They once again did like almost like a black prism or silhouette type picture with the background cropped out, just the player, the emphasis on the player here. But doesn't it to you have a lot of like 2013 Prizm vibes to it?
Yeah, it does. One thing I've enjoyed is the 2014 throwback variation silver prisms I've seen. I almost I had to change my pants when I saw it because 2014 was one of my favorite Prizm years. But I mean, you are right. I'm not gonna lie, I do like this year's Prizm, and anyone that's been following the show knows that I am a guy that's not always going to stoop for a Prizm, but I'm loving the design for this year, and in particular for Bo Nix. Every year, Prizm prints a lot of these orange kind of disco and orange laser prisms. So there's some opportunity for some color match here. I like that.
Yeah, and some opportunity for color match. Very nice for Bo Nix. You get the orange laser, the orange disco. Those are going to be your go-to cards, and those are going to do really well. I would expect those to do, close, probably $100 to $150 raw right now. It'll be interesting to see what the grade rate. I mean, that's one of the biggest interest, I think, from hobbyists out there is what is the quality like? What's the grade rate going to be like when I go to try and convert these from raw to being slabbed up?
And Mark says that the gym rates have not actually been good according to early results. I've not looked into gym rates. I've not gotten a card graded in forever. But it does change things up that they're not gymming these as well. And I think part of it is because a lot of these tops now are like paper cards. These chrome cards, it is a little bit different. So what does that change for you, Andy, as far as the gym rates being down?
Well, if the gym rates are down, then I'm going to target PSA 10s if they're at a good price. Like take, for example, the base Prizm. And we know going back to 2021 on the base and the silver for Trevor Lawrence, a prime example, there's such a huge gap between the value of a PSA 10 and that of a 9 or a raw card. And so you want to kind of get ahead of that curve if you can, because as the gym rates get low and more data comes out showing that it's super low, well, then I'd go after the PSA 10s or the CGC 10s, because those are going to continue to climb in value as everything else is just doesn't grade out well,
Here's my question as far as grading is concerned. Remember a few years ago with Trevor Lawrence? I would love to go back and see the exact episode where this happened, But remember, there was like a way lower PSA 10 rate for Trevor than for the other players. It was like he had 4 PSA 10 base, and Trey Lance had like 25 to 30, like very early. It was something absolutely positively wild like that. So, yeah, I mean, the thing about grading is it's going to be inconsistent from player to player. So, it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, they all had much better grade rates on their Prizm Silver. It wasn't like we've seen from some other ultra modern sets. Most sets that you look at typically have a 90% chance of at least getting a 9. That's like a gem rate. When you call just a gem rate, that's not gem mint, but just a gem rate, that's a 9 or a 10. There's a 90% chance. But then we see some sets, and specifically some players from certain sets, like 2021 Trevor Lawrence from Prizm, that ends up being like a 10 or 15% gem rate on his silver Prizm. So when you have that, then the 10s get really high in value because everybody starts chasing those. So if you can kind of get ahead of that, then it's really nice.
I think one thing that was interesting. Well, one thing that was interesting with the silver Prizms, we're big fans of people always wanting silver Prizm, is Bryce Young's silver Prizms during the summer were $50. And then they got all the way down to $5. And now, after him playing absolutely amazing, they're in the 30, 40, 50-ish kind of range. And CJ Stroud is still floating around that $200 range. And Joe Burrow is still in the 300-plus range. So when you see some of these Jaden Daniels silver Prizms raw go crazy, keep in mind of the players that actually are good, that this card could have fluctuation. I know we're big silver Prizm guys, but I think if you do pull a silver of one of these rookie quarterbacks, you should go on ahead and sell right now because it is so unfreaking believably hot.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Jaden Daniels right here. I'm seeing a sold from yesterday on his silver Prizm raw without knowing the gem rates here, $450. I'm actually kind of blown away that 2014 retro, which is sick, by the way. Yes. Favorite Prizm year there, 2014. Shout out to Big Mike Evans. But you see it, $450 raw on that card. Very favorable to sell, not knowing the gem rates. You could also, roll the dice, express, submit it to PSA, get it back. If you get the 10, you're going to sell that from anywhere between, I think, $1,000 right now, especially with the playoffs looming this upcoming weekend. I mean, it's even this is the thing with Jaden, with Bo Nix, Carter. I want to get into this. Like, hold these guys tight if you want to. Take the shot on grading them because the upside is huge, and these guys are going to be, faces of the NFL. All the talk of the town heading into September of 2025. Even if they flame out here in the playoffs, which is unlikely, it's probably going to come down to a very close game, this weekend. And I just don't think that either one of them are going to flame out. And even if they did, there's still going to be so much renewed hype in 2025 September that, rolling the dice and getting it graded makes a lot of sense. Holding these guys tight makes a lot of sense as well, Carter. But you can't argue with that price there at $450 raw. That's really good.
Yeah, and for reference, Drake Maye, $200. Jaden Daniels in that $400 range. As many of you know, I'm a big Drake Maye fan. I would like that price to be a little bit lower on a losing team, especially with him not playing this past week. But Jaden Daniels is that guy. I don't like that price at all. But man, I thought my Bryce Young silver Prizm play was going to work out for the long run, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it will. I think Bryce. I mean, I'm a big Bryce fan now, especially. Kind of helped the Bucs get into the playoffs.
Yeah,
but he's really turned his season around here towards the end, and man, wow, some of the highlights he put up. Well, I saw one post that someone said they never seen a quarterback celebrate. Like, he threw a touchdown pass and he was starting to celebrate before the guy even caught the ball. Like, the reaction time, like, what in the world? You got balloons popping up in your background? Is it because you did the touchdown dance? So just stuff like that. Like, Bryce Young is really starting to come into his form, and we all knew he was like a very quick reflex, snappy player, and he's starting to show it. And so I'm very interested in the Bryce Young market. You can see the CJ Stroud market is kind of down from historical prices from before the season. The Bryce Young one is bouncing around, but go back before the season, you had $250 roughly Silver Prizm PSA 10s, and now you have $160 buy now this week. So I think it's actually an interesting little buy opportunity still on Bryce Young. Now, obviously, you're not buying at the complete bottom, so you have to kind of take that into consideration. Like, you could get a bad deal on a Bryce Young right now, especially from where they were selling at, but you're still buying at a nice discount compared to what its peak was at before the season. And this is a 49% grade rate of raw to PSA 10 on his Silver Prizm. So pretty solid, like we mentioned, I think Bryce Young becomes a hold here. I think he becomes a little bit of a buy opportunity right now in the playoffs. Everybody's, focused on the playoff guys mostly. So, if you got a little opportunity here for Bryce Young.
One of my lowest moments was not sticking my feet in the ground for Bryce Young. And Andy, you know how much I loved Bryce Young coming out. Had him higher than CJ Stroud. And then earlier this year, I turned on my guy Bryce when he was playing terrible. But before the season, I was like, man, I still believe. And you take a look at the playoffs, Andy. Who's in the playoffs right now? Okay, Jared Goff's in the playoffs, 1.1. Okay, Baker Mayfield's in the playoffs, 1.1. Joe Burrow should have been in the playoffs, 1.1, playing at an unbelievable rate. Matthew Stafford, 1.1. So it is rare for the number one overall quarterback to not eventually turn into something. It's really, really, really hard. But now we go to some of your questions. Let's go to Arturo Torres. He said, listen, a few weeks back in that Kayshon Boutte play. Look at that.
Biggest debate.
I want everyone to know I do work hard on these plays of the week. I really, really, really do. And Andy, did you see Kayshon over the past couple of weeks? Dude's been balling out of control with Joe Milton and Drake Maye.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And Kayshon's values have gone up a lot. Demand has really gone through the roof. And he was a guy you could have bought dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. I mean, he at one point barely stayed in the NFL, right? I mean, he was like on the verge, kind of like Justin Ross out there. He was on the verge of just being a has-been. But, things break your way, and all of a sudden, he's really turned it on. Joe Milton, obviously a quarterback that most kind of forgot about in the draft process. I remember I told you Joe Milton and that physicality he's got, the arm strength that he's got, would have made for a really serious. So I remember talking to you about him when he played for Tennessee as a backup because of his arm. I mean, and now, you get to see that in a primetime game or just, on national television in the NFL, and it can be really lethal in terms of stimulating hobby demand. And especially when a guy's got limited rookie cards, you got new products. I mean, it's just a recipe for just skyrocketing prices.
He wants to talk about Egbuka, who is a wide receiver for Ohio State. He's a very interesting player, Andy. So Ohio State has this loaded wide receiver room. And we talked about Jeremiah Smith earlier this year. He's going to be the number one wide receiver prospect ever when he comes out in a few years. Andy, I know you're not as well versed in the college game, but have you seen any Jeremiah Smith highlights?
Jeremiah Smith. I was doing some research this past week on college players to buy into, and I'll share one of those later in the stream.
Yeah.
But because I was looking at some of the mock drafts, and then I started looking into some of the highlights and the stats on some of these guys, and I'm like, wow, this is a guy you want to buy. But I haven't seen anything yet on Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah,
I haven't got that.
he would be, if he could come out after his true freshman season. Some are saying he would be the number 1 overall pick.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I'll say this: he wouldn't have been the number 1 overall pick in this draft with the Titans. The Titans are going to draft a quarterback, but if the Patriots would have finished with the number 1 overall pick, and Jeremiah Smith could come out, he would have been the number 1 overall pick after his true freshman season. But he's got a few more years. But Ibuka is really good as the number 2 option. And we've seen, Andy, a lot of college number 2 options on loaded teams turn out to be really, really, really good NFL wide receivers. Obviously, 2 of them are from LSU. So Ibuka is very interesting. Caden Prather, I'm not as high on, but once again, that Maryland offense was just weird this year. I would honestly think about grading the Ibuka card. The difference with him, though, Arturo, is let's just say he goes nuclear in this next playoff game, which I think could happen. Ohio State plays Texas. One corner is a lot better than the other. We know Texas is going to shift all the coverage to Jeremiah Smith. So, Arturo, before you send that card off, I would wait and see this next game, and Ibuka could have a 150 to 200 yard game, and you could sell then. So I would hold on to that, but then think about grading it after the playoffs. Let's go to Don. Is now the time to buy the dip on CJ Stroud, Andy?
Well, I was just looking at his chart, and I definitely think on certain aspects of his market, it definitely is. I've never been a big fan of some of these Tops Now products or the Tops Composite products where they really skyrocketed CJ Stroud's inventory, just his whole portfolio in general really skyrocketed. We've talked about that before, how he's got about 16,000 and some change different rookie cards. And a lot of those, like I would say roughly 10,000 of those are from Tops Composite and other Tops, little subsidiary sets, if you will call them that. But yeah, I'm looking at the decrease in his value here just on the Prizm Silver. This is one of the most popular, highly transacted cards. It's got a population of 2,046 at PSA on the 10s and 2,800 9s and 196 8s. So once again, you got a good 9 to 10 ratio there. Look, I mean, that was $1,000 card before the season started. And now it does look like it's stabilized at a baseline here of around $450 to $400, even a $389 auction this past Friday. So heck yeah, I'd be buying that, because that's not that much more than what, the Bryce Young was. It's very low, man. It's very low. And you can go and compare that to other 2022 ultra modern 23 quarterbacks, and you can see the value is there, especially if that's what a PSA 10 is going for. That's cheaper than Jaden Daniels raw Silver Prizm PSA 10. And you got to think that by this time next year, Jaden Daniels is going to have some type of, print variety rookie card total in his portfolio close to somewhere of CJ Stroud, I would imagine. Him and Bo Nix both,
But Hector makes a good point, Andy. Why not wait until Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers beat CJ this next week, and then we can get an even larger dip? I mean, this could go lower. What if the Texans, who have not played well this season, had one of the worst divisions in the modern era in the NFL, if you ask me, as the other 3 teams were just complete dumpster fires?
That is a good idea.
I see the Chargers taking care of business, and I think they can run away with this. especially if QJ. Are you kidding me? Quentin Johnston having the game that he had this past week.
Yeah, I'm eating some crow on QJ because I guess maybe it was a coaching issue.
Yeah, I mean, Harbaugh believes in him. Believe it or not, Harbaugh lost to him in the college football playoff, and it was QJ having a nuclear game a few years ago. So Harbaugh always believed in that guy. So I before we get into our playoff prediction, I believe that the Chargers will take care of business. So you could get a little bit more of a dip with those CJ Stroud. Let me ask you this, Andy. Anthony Richardson was brought up in the chat since we're on the topic of the second-year quarterbacks. AR, man, it's crazy. I see a few people saying that he is dirt cheap right now. Are you looking at a potential play with AR?
Man, he had a rough season, I think he is a play just from the standpoint, he's a number 4 overall pick. He's still very young, still very physical, but the chances of him making a third-year leap like Josh Allen did, I think are very low. One of the big reasons is injuries with Anthony Richardson. And we only get an 11-game season. We only from him this year. We only got a 4-game season from him in his rookie year, and the 11-game season this year was only a 47% completion percentage. Wasn't great. The yards per attempt weren't great. So I don't know, Carter. What do you think? I mean, I think it makes sense to have some exposure to him for those other factors that I just mentioned, but it definitely is like I would not over leverage myself on Anthony Richardson because the chances of him actually breaking out to the next level I feel are getting slimmer.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen right now, and if you could pop this up, I'm a big believer in accuracy, right? It's hard to become more accurate as a QB. So this is just a chart. It's not the end-all, be-all. Completion and highly accurate throw percentage by depth. You'll see all the elite guys pretty much at the top here. Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Goff, Geno Smith. Guys that you would normally consider to be pretty accurate throwers of the football. And you'll see over here, metrics CPOE, 7.5% here for Jalen Hurts. You got to go all the way down here. And Anthony Richardson is just so far off the rest of this sample. And I know you see CJ Stroud and a few other like good quarterbacks here, but look at this, negative 10.9% CPOE. And he's in the negative, basically in the red at every throwing distance. So, this isn't just basic completion percentage stuff, because you can watch a lot of Anthony Richardson and you'll see a bunch of drops. And he had some absolutely gnarly drops, in particular in that Lions game. There's nothing you can do when the guys are dropping balls that are thrown right to you. But, man, I do film studies, obviously, for Power Hour NFL. Mechanically, it's just all over the place. It really is. So, once again, he's still very young, still very raw. He needs more starts. I just don't know if another team's going to give it to him. And, Andy, this is where it gets interesting. We can talk all we want about charts and actual cards and all of this stuff, but which locker room was the biggest dumpster fire in the NFL? I can argue the Colts, right? So you have a guy who takes himself out of the game, completely change the locker room dynamics. You bring Flacco back, then you bring Richardson back, and then you have Pat McAfee fighting with current players on the team, and then you have other players hosting their – I mean, if you have a quarterback that is an adult and can lead other men, none of this happens. I mean, you're a decent team, right? So there are some leadership questions with Anthony Richardson. So I don't know how many teams are going to be gung-ho giving him another chance to start based on potential maturity issues, right? It's different when you see a guy like Jaden Daniels, who's very blue-collar, and then and once again, I'm very biased in saying that, but it's you guys have seen it for yourself. and Anthony Richardson, who takes himself out of games. So, yeah, I mean, he is dirt cheap. And all it takes is just one spike week or one ridiculous 80-yard throw. But just buyer beware. Don't get too crazy with it.
In every subsequent year, it's going to take more and more of those throws for him to get the same spike he was getting at the beginning of this year, last year. So like that runway is getting shorter and shorter for Anthony Richardson. It was a really bad look. So I think he's one of those guys where if I'm at a show and somebody's trying to trade me an AR or put an AR in the deal to entice me, it's like, man, you're going to have to twist my arm to kind of take that. That risk on with AR, because at this point it's getting slimmer and slimmer by the day of him potentially breaking out.
Is Jared Goff a play for you? Lions #1 overall seed. We've seen the Super Bowl spike happen. I know Hector's in here. He's a big Jared Goff holder. So what would you do with Jared Goff?
Yeah, I mean, Jared Goff's seen a big increase over the past 6 months, and I think it is really important to compare him to guys like Derrick Henry. And it's funny to say, a running back in that mix, but, he's King Henry. So you got to compare him to Derrick Henry. You got to compare him to Dak Prescott, throw another quarterback in there from 2016. But with the nice thing is you've got a lot of data on Jared Goff's graded market, his autograph market, and you can easily compare him to those other guys. And so you look at the price increase over the past 6 months, 25% for the Silver Prizm PSA 10, 43% for his base donors. I mean, there's still juice to squeeze out of this card when you put those other guys in the mix. But he's definitely reaching more of his peak. And I like Jared Goff. I think he's a fun guy to hold. I like Jared Goff off the football field from what I've seen of him, and I think he's a good leader in the locker room. I think there's a lot of intangibles that Jared Goff brings outside of the football field that kind of makes you want to hold on to him. So for me, he's a hold right now, Carter. And I think you could definitely sell him here in the playoffs and make a nice profit, especially if you bought Jared Goff last year before the season or at some point during the season in a dip. He's a kind of a fun player to have in your portfolio.
Yeah, I think you should gamble and see if he can make the Super Bowl. I definitely think it's worth it to try and see if you can get that Super Bowl spike for Jared Goff. And it might not go up that a whole lot. We saw it a few years ago with Matthew Stafford making the Super Bowl. His stuff went up, I believe, some, but not like a gazillion %. But man, Jared Goff's solid. He's just freaking solid.
Yeah, and you look at the 2-year trend on Dak Prescott, we really have to go back. But if you go back to January 2023, there were some Dak Prescott PSA 10 Silver Prizm that were selling for $375. Oh, I had my first camera fart here.
Yeah, no, you were frozen for a while. Look at you. I like it, man.
Straight out of the Twilight Zone, the Matrix or something.
Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard me. So there were buy nows on Dak Prescott, playoff at the end of the 2022 season, beginning of 2023, $375 on his Silver Prizm PSA 10. That's a population of 1,500. And then you look at Jared Goff. He's currently at a $300 trend and up from that. But I got to think if the Lions run deep here, that card's going to go up a little bit more. So, yeah, you're paying a premium. If you're buying him now, is not really the ideal time to buy him, but he's a fun hold, man. This situation with the Lions, I'm a little bit hesitant to think that Ben Johnson, the biggest contributor probably in opening up their playbook and really helping them take this Lions offense to the next level, is going to find a new coaching job next year. That he's stuck around another year. I don't know how things are going to work out after this year for him. He's probably going to end up a head coach for another big-time team.
Let's go. Dominic Davis said, I'm not going to let Dominic slide on this take. He said Joe Milton's better than Drake Maye.
Uh-oh.
That's a scorcher right there, bro.
Yeah. I mean, you've been so high on Drake Maye, throughout this rookie campaign here. I mean, the injuries are an unfortunate part of football, and they happen, and that's what's nice about football cards is you can always hold on to these cards until they come back. But there's a big difference. I mean, even if he thinks that Joe Milton is better than Drake Maye, draft capital is going to speak for itself in the sense that Drake Maye will start again.
Now, here's what's funny, Andy. Get off the screen. Thank you.
Okay.
Dominic. Here's the funny thing. I don't even know if Dominic knows this. All right. He shares a name, a former Houston Texans running back, Dominic Davis, okay? And Dominic Davis, do you know where he played college football, Andy?
LSU?
Yes, he was an LSU running back. One of many. And also, Andy, I cover Tennessee. I'm a Tennessee football fan. Tennessee is my number 2 team, all right? Tennessee has paid my rent this year. So where did Joe Milton play college football, Andy?
Tennessee, right?
Yeah, he played at Tennessee, started at Michigan. I don't give a rip about North Carolina. And I'm not even like a Drake Maye fan. Obviously, I'm all in on Jaden's my guy, right? But when I say that is an asinine take, I have every reason to want Joe Milton. I like Joe Milton personally better, obviously because he played Tennessee, right? Joe Milton's not better than Drake Maye. I will bet my right pinky toe on it that Joe Milton is not better than Drake Maye. And I've seen this take, Andy. I saw it before the season when Drake Maye was held out of the first preseason game and Joe Milton had a few fancy throws. Yo, come on. Let's be adults here, Dominic. And you as a Patriots fan should want the best quarterback. And Drake Maye, look, Andy, I'll go this far. All right. Jaden is going to be the best rookie quarterback of this class. I'm not sure if it's going to be close. But Drake Maye has made me do a few like double takes. Like, holy crap, is this guy Justin Herbert? Is this guy freaking Josh Allen? Obviously, Jaden plays a different style than Drake Maye, but he's unreal, which is why I've talked about Drake. And, this is what I do with every rookie quarterback class. I do my own film evaluations. Jaden obviously is at the top. I ask myself, how far is Drake Maye from Jaden Daniels? I'm not sure if Drake Maye's card should be half of Jaden Daniels. I'm not sure if Drake Maye's card should be less than that of Bo Nix. So, you put Travis Hunter on this Patriots team? Are you kidding me? This team has some juice. So I'm really excited about that. Let's get to another question here. While Dominic responds, Eddie, I'll let you take. You got a few highlighted here. I'll let you go to whichever topic you want to go to next.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about CJ Stroud. Oh, Sam S said, "Is Jahmyr Gibbs a sell right now, or should I keep waiting for the playoffs to begin?" Jahmyr Gibbs, another situation, guy that's going up a lot. He's a guy you could hold tight. He's a guy you could sell right now, but he's so young in such a awesome situation here. I like to try and hold on to guys like this. There's a lot of correlation between the football card market and that of dynasty fantasy football. You would have to pay me an insane premium to sell Jahmyr Gibbs in dynasty, and you'd have to do the same thing to get, like, if I had a rookie auto, if I had anything of scarcity from Jahmyr Gibbs in the hobby. Right now, we have him ranked at number 1 on our hype index with over 1,000 cards sold on eBay in the past 24 hours. That's higher than Joe Burrow, who had 400, or even if I look at Justin Jefferson at 227, if you want to throw other guys, Justin Herbert, 286, Bryce Young had 753, which is pretty close. But these are quarterbacks we're comparing to a running back, and that's how hyped up Jahmyr Gibbs is right now. So obviously you should have a good profit in that card, but do not settle for anything less than like a double or triple up from what you bought it at.
Yeah, and I wouldn't sell it this week when they're on the buy, right? I would definitely list it as a buy now. List it high. Go for it. If they make the Super Bowl, people are going to be buying that card like crazy, especially because the Lions don't have the young star quarterback. They're going to look at Amon-Ra cards, and they're going to look at Jahmyr Gibbs cards. So there you go. And Gibbs has that superstar appeal, man. He plays an exciting brand of football. I love that he wears a running back's number, right? I love the number 26. I love a running back in a vintage RB number. And then, of course, you have the Lions lore of elite running backs. It looks a little Barry-ish. Barry Sanders, of course, is the best football player I've ever watched outside of Jerry Rice. So there you go. And
what's interesting, Carter, real quick with Jahmyr Gibbs, he's from this past draft class, so there's a ton of cards out there for him. I still see a lot of optic hollows at $10-15. I still see a lot of Prizm silvers at $15 to $25. For Jahmyr Gibbs, having over 8,000 different rookie cards out there in circulation, and we're just talking, each of those have their own print run. This is like just a variety total here from tradingcarddatabase.com. I would definitely focus in more on the PSA 10s of those premium silver cards like Prizm Silver and Optic Hollows, or would focus in on serial numbered cards, but look for those common denominators like serial numbered. Does it have a rookie card logo on the front? If it does, that checks another box. If it has a rookie auto on that front, all of a sudden you're going to multiply the value of that card by 5 to 7x of even if it has a serial number, just because they print a lot more cards with serial numbers on them now, and there's more inserts, etc. So it's like that's the kind of market you really want to focus on for Jahmyr Gibbs, because there's so many cards out there. You really got to, I think, narrow your focus on the more desirable cards.
And he is a running back, so this might be your best opportunity when you factor in age. And he finished, Andy, as the number one PPR running back. This past 4-touchdown game put him over. So there you go. Ahead of what Saquon did. Obviously, he didn't play the 17th game. And, of course, David Montgomery got hurt. But still, ahead of what Bijan did, which was ridiculous. There could be an opportunity if Gibbs goes way ahead of Bijan in price. There could be a Bijan buying opportunity. So there you go. Hector wants to know on the new Uptown cards, Andy.
Yeah, so I gotta be honest with you. I don't think I've seen the new Uptown cards yet. You have to fill me in here, Carter.
I haven't really either. I guess neither one of us are Bruno Mars fans.
So I'm even having a difficulty pulling them up on eBay. So
I've not seen it. I've honestly not seen it at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I'll have to.
Well, you highlighted the comment.
I did. I don't like to pass over a comment just because I'm not informed on it. So I'll do some research. Maybe I'll have to ask AI. Maybe I'll have to ask Chat GPT.
Oh God, you're a Chat GPT. Let me see. Uptown. I don't know. I really don't know. I guess Hector, send me a link. I think you follow me on Twitter or whatever. We'll go to the next topic. James, how about the Bengals cards? What Bengals cards should you sell next year? They're out of the playoffs. I am buying a ton of Bengals. If there is any way I could get Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase at any type of discount, which I won't be able to. But I trust you. I'm going to be looking, Mr. James. So there you go.
For sure. And I mean, their offense is incredible. The Bengals' offense is incredible. That's definitely not what held them back this season, for the most part. And yeah, Chase Brown really had a coming out party, big time this year. I thought Zach Moss was going to be way more of a contributing factor, but Chase Brown really took to the next level. If you bought into him before the season started, you are winning. And I think he's a hold or sell here in this upcoming offseason cycle. And then you have, everybody wants T. Higgins is going to be a huge topic of conversation in free agency. If you can get a deal on him, buy him now. Jamar Chase remains super expensive all the time. And so does Burrow.
All right, playoff prediction time, Andy. We'll start off with the AFC. Chargers, Texans, Steelers, Ravens.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Chargers win this game against the Texans, and they advance to the next level. This Steelers-Ravens game is interesting, but I think the Ravens win this one at home here. That's going to be a close game. That's going to be a slugfest in the mud.
And then we get to Broncos, Bills. I think both of us will have the Bills here.
Yeah, I do have the Bills, and I mean, I think that's one reason why you could look at selling Bo Nix heading into this game. But I don't think you'll be able to buy back into Bo Nix really much cheaper this offseason. So just keep that in mind. That's why I think ultimately I would hold him tight.
Yeah, the one thing I'll point out about these lower seeded teams, part of why I like the Chargers is I just like Harbaugh more than Ryans and Slowick. And I will say this would be the most Sean Payton thing to do to upset Buffalo, heavy favorite Buffalo. But you look at the overall rosters, how much better is the Bills roster than the Broncos roster, Andy? I'm just asking you straight up.
I mean, so in terms of depth, I don't think it's that much better.
It's not. Broncos have a better overall roster. So you're telling me I get a better roster, a team playing really good football right now, kind of a bye-ish week this past week, playing a team full of backups. And with the Broncos, I get a better receiving core. I get a better defensive line. I get a better coach. I get a better group of corners. I get a better group of safeties. There's some Bronco tingles here. And, of course, if the Broncos win, they'll rematch Kansas City. But I'm going to go Bills, and then we get to Bills versus the Ravens. Andy, who are we rolling with here?
Oh man, now that's a clash that we've seen a few times. Comes down to the wire. I mean, this is going to be maybe the year for the Bills, but it probably will come down to maybe Bills KC again in the championship game. I'm gonna go with the Bills. Bills Ravens. I'm gonna go with the Bills.
All right, I'm going Ravens versus Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. Do we both have Kansas City beating the Chargers?
Oh, good Lord. I don't know about that. I mean,
well, you got to pick one, Andy.
Yeah. I mean, Kansas City's probably going to beat the Chargers. Yeah.
All right. So we get Ravens, KC. Who do we have coming out of the AFC?
Yeah. KC.
No, come on. It's Baltimore's year, baby. It's Lamar's year. Lamar's going to win his third MVP. Who's your MVP vote going to, Andy?
Yeah, I was gonna go for Josh Allen on that one. I think I gotta go with Josh Allen. Okay. Once again, because look at the depth of the roster. It's much better for the Ravens. Josh Allen, he does so much on his own, man. It's crazy. I know Lamar's having an insane year, but man, Josh Allen just does so much on his own. It's crazy.
My MVP vote goes to Jaden Daniels. The Commanders roster, I think, is worse than the Bills roster. And the fact that he was able to do all this stuff as a rookie. Now, this final game obviously changes things. But in all honesty, it's going to be Lamar that wins this. And I see a bunch of you like Brad Nolan saying Bo Nix better than Jaden Daniels. I saw some other buffoons saying Jaden Daniels is the next RG3. Get out of here with that nonsense.
Yeah,
RG3.
no, yeah.
Not the same mental makeup of Jaden Daniels. RG3, a little bit of a diva. That is not Jaden's MO. Let's go to the NFC. Rams, Vikings, by far the best first-round matchup in my mind. Who do you have and why here, Andy?
Oh man, I mean, originally I was going to say Vikings. It just depends on how much does recency bias play into your analysis of this game here. Rams are sneaky. They're obviously scrappy and they can compete. But man, if you're going off of recency bias here with Sam Darnold, it's iffy. This is going to be a close game, but I think the Vikings win this game. But it's going to be close.
I'm going to go Rams. I'm going to go Rams. I think there could be some weird officiating. I think the powers that be would prefer a Rams-Lions rematch instead of a Vikings-Lions rematch. They love the Matthew Stafford angle. All right.
That's true.
This is where we're going to be opposite. Washington, Tampa Bay in the 6-3 here.
Come on, man. I mean, I think Jaden's had a great rookie season, but the train stops here.
Come on, Andy. You know in your heart of hearts that you have a sick feeling that you got matched up versus Jaden, the freaking GOAT, Daniels in the first round.
Oh, it's going to be a shootout, man. I mean, if you're a betting man, I'm betting on the over in this game for sure. But I don't like to bet on games like that with the Bucks are in it. But yeah. I mean, this is going to be a high scoring affair, and Jaden is coming for revenge because he got beat up pretty good in the first game that he played against us early in the season this year. So this is going to be really interesting. Game at home, but man, Baker's in his element. It's going to be a close game. Obviously, I'm going with my guys. I think they win this game here.
Commanders by 10. Commanders take care of business. Packers, Eagles.
Yeah, so injury status I think is going to play a big factor in this game.
Right.
Packers, Eagles.
Obviously, Jalen Hurts, still in concussion protocol. Jordan Love, obviously getting dinged up. Obviously, Malik Willis has been a better backup than what Tanner McKee has been for the Eagles. So, I don't know, Andy. I'm leaning Eagles here. Are you rolling with me on the Eagles?
In Philadelphia, yeah, I'm gonna roll Eagles. Yeah, I'm gonna roll Eagles here.
Okay,
they're gonna lean on that run game big time.
All right, so this is where it gets a little messy here for both of us since we have a differentiation in this game. So you have a 2-3 matchup between the Eagles and the Bucks.
Is it? Yeah, it was top seed versus bottom seed, so that's how that would shake out, isn't it?
So actually, we'll go back up to the top. We'll just do that, okay? You picked the Rams, correct, or the Vikings?
Yeah, no. So I picked the Vikings, but I do I could see some calls leaning the Rams' way because that storyline of Stafford playing against his old team in the rematch against the Lions is a really, really good, and the viewership would be higher. So yeah, I could see the Rams definitely winning that one. I could change my pick to the Rams there.
Okay, so yeah, you have chalk basically. So you have 4 versus 1, Rams versus Lions. Who wins?
Oh, I'm Lions. Yeah, I've been saying this is the Lions' year since the beginning of the season. I'm sticking with them.
So, and then we get down here, Eagles, Bucks. Who do you have and why?
It's the Bucks, man. It's the Bucks.
So Bucks, Lions, Super Bowl or NFC Championship. Who do you have? Bucks, Lions to the big game.
It's the Lions are going to win that game. But it's going to be close. I mean, Baker's going to do everything he can to not let that happen. Obviously, he's a really scrappy player, and you never know what kind of trick he'll pull out of his hat. But I do think the Lions win that game.
All right, so just for reference, this is what you're predicting, that the Lions will have 2 playoff rematches from last year.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
Obviously, my bracket changes up here. Commanders have to go on the road and play the Lions, and I'm actually going to go with the Commanders. I think that's a brutal matchup for Detroit in week 1 of their playoff journey. I'm going to go Commanders taking care of business versus the Lions, and then of course I would have Eagles versus the Rams, and I am going to go with the Eagles. So we will have an all NFC East rematch here between the Eagles and Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, and I'm actually going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. Jaden, of course, has had tough sledding versus the Eagles, so I will go with the home field advantage. The link would be absolutely crazy. But obviously, if Jalen Hurts is hurt, then all of this goes to crap. All right. So your Super Bowl, Andy, Chiefs versus Lions. Who wins and why?
The Lions win this one, man.
My God.
The Lions win this one. The Lions finally get a Super Bowl.
And my Super Bowl is Ravens versus the Eagles. I think Lamar Jackson finally gets it done. Okay. But Jaden Daniels terrorizes everybody's playoff bracket because he is that
I could see it, man. He's
mark
good.
It down.
He's so much fun to watch too, man. He's a lot of fun.
For some reason, I feel like I'm sleeping on the Packers with what they did last year as a 7th seed, where many felt they should have beat San Francisco after terrorizing the Dallas Choke Boys. So there you go. Annoy says Chiefs Lions Super Bowl. Who is your Super Bowl pick? Let's see it in the chat right now. Okay. Brad Nolan says LSU Boner Central. Y'all sleep on Jaden. Y'all sleep on Jaden, man. I would bet American coin. I would bet pesos. I would bet all of that Jaden's going to beat the Bucks this weekend. It's going down, and Andy's going to hate me forever for it. He won't even want to show up and do a show next Tuesday.
I'll tell you this thing. I'm not putting a bet on it against you. It's gonna be.
You're not.
It's gonna be nerve-wracking, man.
We should do some kind of bet. I will say, privately, Andy did convince me to do the carnivore diet, and my body is completely screaming for food right now. So I blame him for trying to get me skinny again. I've not been skinny in a while. Actually, I've never been skinny. I've always been chubby. Ravens, Lions. Hector would make a lot of money if the Lions. Hector is the biggest lion collector I think we have on this channel. Jonathan has the Eagles. Sam's Lab Boxing has the Ravens. My thing is this. Kansas City has moved ahead, number 1, in my YouTube analytics. When I do a Kansas City Chiefs video on Power NFL, it crushes everything else, even ahead of my Commander breakdowns. So I want the Chiefs to make it because, well, a lot of people watch Chiefs content. But I just want somebody else, Andy. I just want somebody else.
I do too. I would love to see the Bills knock off the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Do you know how many Bills fans will just be on their knees with tears in their eyes, and Josh Allen would be crying tears of joy, and it would just be a very moving moments that I would love to see in the NFL?
This is my term for the Lions-Bills Super Bowl. If we do get it, it is the Blue Balls Super Bowl.
That's good.
Because they've had that, you know what, like a Mormon before marriage. They've had all that juice built up, and they're just trying to release it. I would love a Bills-Lions Super Bowl. That if we had a just football god, we would have a Lions Bills Super Bowl. The one thing I do like about this playoff bracket, though, is there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of painful franchises here, right? You have like some of your traditional elite teams like the Packers, Steelers, obviously the Chiefs, but you have a lot of teams that have been through a lot of ish. Chargers, the freaking Bills. Then in the NFC, you have the Vikings, who, by the way, Andy, did you know the Minnesota Vikings have the best winning percentage of all teams that have not won a Super Bowl?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how good the Vikings have been, low key. And then, of course, you have Washington, whose fans have been through hell and back, but I mean, they always have the Gibbs years. So there you go. And then, of course, the most painful franchise, the Detroit Lions. So there you go. One thing that concerns me about my Ravens pick, though, is this Justin Tucker stuff. He's not the same guy. And, you know, in close games, you need those field goals, man. So we need prime Justin Tucker.
Biggest fall off player of the year, I think, for a lot of reasons.
Family Burliner, I'm with you. And by the way, I do a lot of underdog mittens. I have a lot of Vikings in my underdog portfolio for playoffs. So I hope they make it all the way. If they make it all the way, I'm going to do really well. So there you go. But Andy, it's time for play of the week. Is there a play that's on the top of your mind right now?
Yeah. He's actually a college player. I'd love to get your take on him because based on my research, I mean, this guy looks like a great time to buy him. And it's not the Ashton Genty because I was blown away when I went and looked up the prices of Ashton Genty Bowman Chrome University autos. $200 for non-serial numbered Bowman Chrome University. That was more than we ever saw for Bijan Robinson. So absolutely. But I get it. I mean, he had a, historic college football season. But I think the other guy, if I look at potential first round running backs like towards the end of the first round that are going to land in a spot, because I look at Dallas needs a running back and I look at the Chargers, they love to run the ball. They could use a first round bell cow. And so I look at this guy, Caleb Johnson from Iowa State, as an absolute monster, and a guy that's got very cheap rookie autos and very few of them. And when I look at his profile and his highlights and stuff, I'm like, this guy's a bell cow. This guy would fit in perfectly in the Charger system with that landing spot and Harbaugh and the hype that team has. I think that's a big recipe for a lot of profit in his current values because you can get his current Bowman Chrome University autos, even without the first, because it's really hard to find his with the first, without it, for like $20, and go and compare that to what Ashton, and I get it. Genty's probably going to go to the Cowboys, and he's probably going to be a little bit earlier in the first round. But I think Caleb Johnson, for me, is the next guy up, and I see a lot of value in him. Kind of like I did with Brian Thomas Jr. last year.
Only correction is he plays for Iowa, not Iowa State.
Oh, so my bad. Yeah, Iowa.
No, yeah, I'm just saying it because Iowa, they actually had a lot of they have a lot of college cards out there, and the Iowa brand has gotten bigger. Kalen Clark, obviously, but man, he's good. I'm with you. He's really, really good. But I didn't want Iowa fans to come to your house looking to slit your throat. They take that. They do. They take it seriously. Do not mix the Hawks and the Cyclones. They do not go.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to mix those. Very sorry. Yeah, Iowa, University of Iowa.
Yeah, Andy, I really don't have a play of the week. Normally, I do really prepare for a play of the week. And when I got up to do it this morning, I was in so much hunger pain. So I'm trying to think of one just like right off the jump. Yeah, dude. Dude. I thought I was doing well, and then I woke up this morning. I was like, I'm craving a package of crackers.
Cracker.
Right.
You and the bread. Any item with flour in it is like Carter's kryptonite.
But I've actually gotten DMs from people that watch this that say, your plays of the week are actually pretty good. So I gave Kayshawn out a few weeks ago. So I don't want to lead anyone astray. I don't just want to fly a play of the week out there. I've also given Paris Campbell out before.
We've all given Paris Campbell out before.
His cards are 99 cents. I will say, though, this is actually just a bigger play of the week. I normally like diving deep for like the $5 card that could turn into something. And obviously Kayshawn's is turning into something. I will say I think Drake Maye is for real. I think he's so good. And I think it's going to be clear in the next year or so that he's better than Bo Nix. So just take that for what it's worth, because Bo Nix's stuff is going to be more than Drake Maye's stuff. I just don't see a world where Drake Maye is worse than him. And on top of that, I agreed with the Patriots' decision to fire Gerard Mayo after one season. And I'm normally somewhat defensive of, first-year coaches, but, man, they're going to get an offensive-minded coach. It's going to make, I feel, our guy a lot better. And look, Patriots, Jalen Polk, terrible selection. And they also took Javon Baker. Not a great selection either. And Drake Maye still produced with this wide receiver room. So I just want to point that out. Also, had those Malik Willis cards ready to go. Let's say Jordan Love can't get it done. Well, we know Malik Willis can go out there and win games. He's good with the game plan that LaFleur has, and the QB run game just becomes a bigger part of their offense with Willis. It's so tough to adjust for that, especially with a defense like the Eagles, which is very prepared. That's the Fangio system. So have those Malik Willis cards ready to go. There you go.
Have those Tanner McKees ready to go. I'd be selling Sam Darnold too, to be honest with you.
Ooh.
I'd be selling Sam Darnold. There's no guarantee that shoot, man, I'm having a brain fart.
Playing
the Lions. Who I'm talking about.
Yeah, playing the Lions, yep.
Well, just the rookie quarterback. I'm having a total brain fart right now.
Oh, JJ McCarthy. Okay, yeah.
JJ McCarthy. Yeah, there's no guarantee that JJ McCarthy doesn't come back and beat out Sam Darnold in the preseason next year. Like, he was off to a pretty good start before he got injured. So, I don't think it's a guarantee that Sam Darnold is now all of a sudden a franchise quarterback, and obviously there's a lot of profit in him. So yeah, I think you could have him on the buy side, Carter. I think a guy that you could have given. Well, you've mentioned this guy because people have asked about him before. There was a comment earlier. I think it was Detroit. I can't remember the exact name of somebody that had Detroit in the name of it, but they were asking about quarterbacks between Kyler. Who is it? Kyler, Brock Purdy, and a few guys that basically are knocked out of the playoffs that are still young. There was a couple old guys he had mentioned. Yeah, it was D-Town relics. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, or Kyler Murray. Which one would you buy this offseason for next year? And there we go.
Okay,
found it. Tua, Bryce. So out of these guys, Carter, I would say buy Bryce, and I would say buy Brock Purdy. The other guys, I'm out on, be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a safer play to buy those last two because they're younger. Tua, man, no Tyreek Hill next year.
Yeah. Tua, no Tyreek Hill. Plus, there's just so much injury concern with Tua. I hate to say it, but I mean, man, that guy, I just, and it doesn't seem like.
I'll tell you this. I think of these 5, the most that will bottom out is Kyler. So I think you can get Kyler really, really, really low. If I were to guess which one would get super low, I think Brock is still going to have he's with the freaking 49ers.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much bigger than that.
And look at his playoff prices compared to where he's at now. Look at his early season prices compared to where he's at now. You're basically getting like a 100% discount. They've been slashed in half compared to where they were. $985 before the season, $1,000 before the season, to now Silver Prizm PSA 10 $450.
Trevor is interesting. Hey, appreciate the compliment, Jason. But Trevor's interesting. Shout out to Trevor, had his first child. Trevor's a dad now.
Trevor.
So now he's really got a ball out. Okay. He's got that might have been why he was struggling. Nervous about being a dad this year. So now that he's gonna have better coaching, this could be a Trevor buy opportunity.
Come on, you ever heard about the new dad streak that I'm not saying it right, but basically there's like a lot of golfers, like when they have a kid, they just go on the streak where there's like birdie, eagle, just because they're so like just elated with joy and happiness around having a kid. And it gives you a lot of confidence. Like take it from a guy who's had, 2 kids, you get a lot of confidence from that as well. You're like, I just accomplished, maybe what is my primary mission in life. And there's a lot of confidence and like peace that comes with that. So you should play a lot better is what I'm trying to say.
And David makes an interesting point about Brock. I think the 49ers are going to give him a contract. We rarely see teams walk from decent starters. So normally that guy gets paid. So there might be some ambiguity and there might be a little spike with the news with Brock getting paid. I think that's what a lot of people are waiting to see. So there you go. But Andy, great show today, man. Had New Year's, had all kinds of stuff going on, Christmas, all that stuff. So we will see y'all next week on the No Off Season.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. We're back on the airwaves, people. Good luck this weekend. Peace. They switched all these media assets around. I can't figure out where the outro's at. Are you hungry, Carter?
I'm sorry. You're doing this on purpose.
What's for lunch, man? You're just gonna go have some more coffee?
That's all I can have. It's just meat.
Well, you should go eat some meat. All right.
Yeah, I will do that. I will do that. Jay